What's up, YouTube? We are here with another Learn to Play POE guide, Learn to Play POE video, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the currency system in Path of Exile. So in a lot of different action RPGs, currency that you find that monsters or mobs or bosses drop is valued, and you take that value back into town and you purchase more items with it, a lot of the time interacting with NPCs. Well, in Path of Exile you can do that. You can interact with NPCs and purchase items, but all of the different currency that's available in Path of Exile is used for some sort of crafting purpose. So you don't have an all-encompassing gold or dollar that simply drops from mobs and bosses. You have currency that can be used to craft and to build your own items, or to build custom items for your friends or for different characters even. So we're going to take a look through each of the different types of major currencies that you're going to see and use throughout Path of Exile, and just show you at a glimpse what each of them does. So first off, we've got a piece of gear here that is unidentified, and what the very most basic, lowest form of currency, that's the most common form of currency in the entire game, is a Scroll of Wisdom. You can use a Scroll of Wisdom to identify an unidentified item. Very simple. The next most common drop or currency item is going to be the Portal Scroll. It simply creates a portal back to the Act Town that you are currently in. So if you're in Act 1, it's going to take you back to Lion Eye's Watch. If you're in Act 2, it's going to open up a portal and take you back to the Sarn Encampment, etc., etc. Alright, so other forms of currency. A Blacksmith's whetstone improves the quality of a weapon. So let's go purchase a weapon really quickly from Tora. This is one of our NPCs that we're just going to buy a weapon from. So here's a weapon that's already been identified, so we don't need to use a Scroll of Wisdom on it because it's already identified. We can already look at all the stats. But if you notice, it doesn't have any quality on it, so we can use the Blacksmith's whetstone to improve the quality. And you notice as we left click the Blackstone onto it, the quality percentage goes up. And as the quality percentage goes up on different items, it has different effects. For this sword, it's adding flat physical damage as we increase its quality. Quality on weapons and armor can go up to 20%. If you try to use more, it's going to tell you, hey, can't use any more. It won't let you use any of your currency. So it's not like you can overspend your Blacksmith's whetstone. So there you go. Now we've got a 20% quality rapier. Now, an armor scrap, next most common use of currency, improves the quality of an armor. So it does the same thing as a Blacksmith's whetstone, but now for armor. So we've got our original barbed coronal leather here, and we're going to improve its quality. You see how its quality goes up? Notice its quality goes up by 2% per usage, which is just great, and it maxes out as well at 20%. Alright, the next type of currency is called the Glassblower's bauble. It improves the quality of a flask. So your flasks are very, very important in Path of Exile. And you can take a flask, whoops, that's a flask that is not able to be crafted because it's a PvP flask. So let's find a flask really quick here. We're going to grab this flask, and we are going to go ahead and improve its quality. Oh, whoops, this one's already got 20 quality. What a meme. These are all 20 quality. Here we go. Here's one without 20 quality. So the quality improvement on a flask improves its duration. So right now we've got this base ruby flask. You'll notice that it's got 4 seconds. That's how long the effect will last as you click on it. So we can grab a Glassblower's bauble and improve the quality, and notice that it goes up by 5%. Ha! Went up to 420. Have to have a little giggle there. So every time you use a Glassblower's bauble, it increases your percentage by 5% on your flask. So now we've got it all the way up from lasting from 4 seconds on its base all the way up to 4.8 seconds, which is great. That means that your flasks last longer and their effects last longer, which means you need to use them less per charge, per usage. Alright, Gemcutter's Prism. You can use a Gemcutter's Prism to improve the quality of a gem. So here we're going to grab a gem that we've got. Here's Cyclone at level 1. You can use a Gemcutter's Prism, simply the same way that we've used our other improvement, and you can left click it, and you'll notice that it improves the quality of a gem by a certain percentage. Now, different gems have different effects depending on the quality that is on them. So some gems will have increased AoE, some gems will have increased damage, some gems will have increased projectiles, some gems will have increased effect or increased effect of their ailment. So you've got to look up individual gems for what exactly quality does for them. But that's what Gemcutter's prisms do. Now, I will let you know, if you have a Gemcutter's prism, you can either use 20 of them to bring up a gem all the way up to 20% quality, or what you can simply do is you can trade in a level 20 gem. So this is what the trade would look like. A level 20 gem plus one Gemcutter's prism. You can trade that in.
What do you need?
To an NPC. This isn't going to work here because this is a level 1 gem, but you can trade in a level 20 gem and it's going to give you a level 1 gem but max quality back. So you'll have to re-level the gem, but you'll have it at max quality. So it's another way of being efficient. Instead of using 20 what are known as GCP or Gemcutter's prisms, instead of using 20 of them in order to bring up your level 20, you just spend the time to re-level your gem and you save some money that way. So that's one tip for how to use Gemcutter prisms. All right, Cartographer chisels. These are used on maps. So we're going to grab a map and take a look. So the Gemcutter, or the Cartographer's chisel, says improves the quality of a map. So we've got a map right here. We've got a Gemcutter, and we're going to just click it. You'll notice as we click it, it improves the map quality by 5% per usage, and it goes up to 20%. We can't go any higher. It improves the quality of the map itself as well as the item quantity on the map, which is why so often when you're thinking about starting mapping, you're going to use chisels in order to improve the item quantity and the quality on the map, because it gives you better investment, better return on your investment. Okay, heading on into the second line. Orb of Transmutation upgrades a normal item to a magic item. So let's say, for instance, that this is a normal item. We're going to make this a normal item by using an Orb of Scouring, which simply removes all properties from an item. So as long as an item is not corrupted, you can use an Orb of Scouring and it simply resets the item back to a white base or to a normal base. So this upgrades a normal item to a magic item. So it's going to go from a white base to a blue base. White bases don't have any additional stats on them. They've just got their base stats. Or what are known as implicits, but once you upgrade it from a white item to a blue item, or from a normal item to a magic item, it can have up to 2 additional stats, which is awesome. So let's take a look. We used an Orb of Transmutation, upgraded our chest piece into a coronal leather of the falcon, and it gives us 2 extra stats. Sometimes we're going to do this and it's only going to give us 1 stat. Ta-da! Look at that. Worked on the first try. And that's okay, because we're going to see in just a minute how we could add a second stat. That's using the Orb of Augmentation. What the Orb of Augmentation does is it enchants a magic item with a new random property. So let's say you had a white base, like we had. We use an Orb of Transmutation on it, and it only gives us 1 stat. And let's say it's a good stat that we really like and we want to keep. So then we're going to use an Orb of Augmentation to keep the 1 stat that we wanted, but then roll additional stats on top of that, which is great. Some stats will come in and will roll as doubles. So even though there are 3 stat lines here, sometimes it'll roll as a double if it's able to hold both stats, if the item itself is able to hold both stats, because both stats are technically rolled as 1 stat. So even though it's showing 3, there's really only 2 rolls on there. All right, the Orb of Alteration reforges a magic item with random properties. So we take our blue item and we say, oh man, none of these stats are good, none of these are going to work for my build, what am I going to do? Well, you can use an Orb of Alteration, and it keeps it at the same rarity, magic, but it simply re-rolls all the stats on it. So now we can go, hey, do we want dodge on our chest piece? Do we want maximum life? Let's keep looking. Oh, there's a fire resistance. That's okay, but it's not very good as a roll. Oh, look at this. A bunch of evasion chance, some cold resistance, and some stun and block recovery. Just what I was looking for. Said no one probably ever, but it works for the example. So that's what the Orb of Alteration does. Now, the Orb of Chance upgrades a normal item to a random rarity, which means if you have a white base and you use an Orb of Chance, it can go from a white base to a magic base or a blue base to a yellow or rare, or also to a unique, which means there are lots of different uniques in the game that are very, very valuable. And so you'll see a lot of people will use Orbs of Chance in order to try and upgrade a white base into its unique form. You can use the Orb of Chance to try and do that. So we just used an Orb of Chance, and ta-da! We just went from a white base to a yellow base, which is a great use of an Orb of Chance. We didn't have to do a bunch of other stuff in order to get it there. We just automatically got it into a rare item, which is great. So that's awesome. We'd look at the stats and we'd say, hey, do we want any of these stats or not? Now, if you've already got a yellow item or a rare item, then you can use Chaos Orbs. Chaos Orbs are the most common denominator, or the equivalent of dollars in the PoE economy. This is by far, when you're looking at something and someone says, what is something valued at? Most often Chaos Orbs are the most common denominator for currency that gets traded. So you could purchase something for, let's say, Orbs of Transmutation or Orbs of Alteration or Chance Orbs, but most of the time people are using Chaos Orbs as their listing and as their expectation for a trade. What Chaos Orbs do is they reforge a rare item with new random properties. So it's the same thing as an Orb of Alteration. What an Orb of Alteration does for magic items, the Chaos Orb does for rare items. So you simply click on the Chaos and it's going to re-roll all of the stats on the base item and you can just keep doing that until you go, hey, this item looks great and I really enjoy this item and it's got all the stats that I could ever want on it. Now let's say, for instance, that we want to upgrade this all the way from a blue item, from a white item to a blue item to a yellow item, so from normal to magic to rare. First off, we'd go Orb of Transmutation to take it from a white to a blue, from a normal to a magic. And then what we could do, if we really like the rolls on it, we can go to a Regal Orb, which upgrades a magic item to a rare item, so it takes a blue to a yellow. The second way to do this, to take a white base into a rare, would be to simply take an Orb of Alchemy, which upgrades a normal item to a rare item. So you simply take the Orb of Alchemy, place it over your white item, bada boom. Instantly, it's a yellow item. So there's more stuff on here that we'll chat about, and there's lots of more currency that we can dig into. Path of Exile has got all sorts of different currency options and crafting abilities and crafting currency, and we're going to dive more into this in our series. If you're new to PoE, hopefully this is helpful to you. If you've got a question or a comment, feel free to leave us one down below.